Hello everyone, my name's Radio Mike, this is the Inside of My Mind, and what a weird time it is at the moment for pretty much every industry in the world, including the film and cinema industry. I am doing a review today of Pixar's Onward, the newest Pixar film that was only recently released in cinemas here in Melbourne, Australia. I believe it's been out in the US for some time, maybe about a month, I could be wrong. However, due to this current virus crisis, it has been essentially pushed to streaming services and digital download because people can't go to the cinemas at the moment. Cinemas around the world are closing. This movie has essentially done very poorly at the box office because people can't actually go out and see it, which is why it seems Disney is sort of panicking, and a lot of movie studios are sort of panicking and just rushing their movies to streaming or to digital download just to recoup any costs, any funds that they're losing because people can't get to the cinemas. This virus has caused a lot of trouble in a lot of different industries, not the least of which is the film industry. So I got Onward on a digital download and watched it, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts on it. There is absolutely a difference between watching a movie for the first time in a packed cinema, all responding to the movie and watching it together, to watching it on the couch at home by yourself. It's always going to be different, but this was the best way that I could watch Onward, and I absolutely love Pixar, particularly their earlier films. The Toy Story franchise I love, Monsters Inc. I think is such a great film. The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, all those really early Pixar films I love. Toy Story 3 would have to be in one of my top 10 films of all time. I love that movie so much. I think it's so heart-wrenchingly beautiful. Recently though, I haven't been massive on what Pixar's been doing, which is a lot of like sequels and follow-ups to previous entries in the franchise. In the past 10 years, that has included Cars 2, Cars 3, Toy Story 4, Monsters University, The Incredibles 2, and Finding Dory, all of which I found pretty lackluster. I thought that Finding Dory was just a really bad movie that broke a lot of the rules that the original movie set up about the world. I thought it was just really, really dumb. Just generally not a very enjoyable movie. I don't think I'd ever watch it again. I felt similarly to The Incredibles 2, which I just thought lacked any substance. I didn't think it was a fitting sequel to the original film, which was a masterpiece. I didn't think that there was anything spectacular about it, and I thought that, it was just so lackluster after such a long wait for a sequel to that film. It just didn't really feel like the sequel we wanted. It definitely wasn't a bad movie, but I didn't particularly enjoy it. Even Toy Story 4, in retrospect, I don't think it was at all necessary. I did enjoy the ending. I thought it was very heartfelt, but I don't think it was necessary at all. That being said, I have enjoyed some of what Pixar has done in the past decade. I really, really enjoyed Coco. I also thought, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I genuinely believe that The Good Dinosaur was a very, very, very well-made film. A very nice, heartwarming film with that Pixar charm. Inside Out, I didn't mind. I thought it was a little bit pandering, but I didn't hate it. And Onward is the newest installment of the Pixar franchise, which takes a totally new direction. It's not based on any existing property. It's a totally new story. It's a totally new character base, and I really, really liked it. I thought this was a very good movie. It's a really interesting premise. I didn't really know anything about it, but basically the main characters are two brothers who lost their father at a very young age. Ian never met his father. Barty has fleeting memories of his father. And on Ian, the younger brother's 16th birthday, their mum gives him a gift from their father. And it's a very interesting gift, which I now realize I should give context to the rest of the movie. Essentially, the plot line of the movie is that there is this world that they live in that was once a magical world full of wizards and magic, and eventually the people realize that a lot of the magical things they were doing were actually less practical than just having light bulbs and other modern inventions like cars and things like that. So they gradually just moved away from magic to the point where no one really used magic anymore, but it still existed. This is a world full of magical creatures. The main characters are elves, there's unicorns, manticores, pixies, fairies, like all these different magical creatures. And I actually kind of liked that premise first up because it sort of reminded me of how in Harry Potter, a lot of the things that the wizards do in that series in terms of magic are really cool, but actually very impractical. And if they adopted Muggle technology, they'd probably be a bit better off. I don't know. I really liked how this movie was just saying, oh, magic actually wouldn't be that good necessarily. There are much better techniques to do the things that magic was allowing you to do. So the two characters are really like dichotomous. So Barty's the older brother. He's a bit of a pain in the neck. He's a bit of a screw up. He's a bit of like a delinquent teen who's a bit stupid. He's voiced by Chris Pratt in a very Jack Black-esque performance. It's like a take on the classic buddy up road trip style movie with Ian, the younger brother, who's more timid, shy, wants to be a bit more adamant and sure of himself, and that's sort of his character arc in the story. The dad leaves them this present, which is that he's created a magic spell that will allow him to come back to life for one day to visit his sons. However, when they perform the magic spell, they perform it incorrectly and only the dad's legs appear. So basically the two brothers and their dad's legs go to find this other Phoenix gem that allows them to use the spell again to bring the full dad back to life. And that takes them on like a cross-country adventure in a van in this road trip style where they encounter a lot of different puzzles and hazards and obstacles that are blocking their way to getting this Phoenix gem on their quest. And the older brother Barty is very much into this sort of magic past of the world, and he's leading them on this quest and getting them into lots of trouble along the way, and that's a source of friction between them. Yeah, a lot of the film is them sort of getting to know each other as brothers and talking about the issues they have with each other and trying to resolve them and realizing that family is very important. A lot of Pixar films have these very heartwarming or heart-wrenching, tear-jerking moments in their conclusions. Toy Story 3 is a great example of that. Coco is a great example of that. And this movie definitely does have one of those endings. Not quite as emotionally driven, but still quite emotional. The brothers at the end. I won't spoil what happens, but I will say that it doesn't quite go exactly to plan when they finally finish the quest. And that brings about a little bit of emotion in the way they deal with what ends up happening. Alongside Chris Pratt is Tom Holland, aka Spider-Man from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and both of them do a really good job with their characters. The supporting cast is the boys' mum, who is trying to find them as they go off on this big adventure. And there's just a lot of fun to be had in general with this film. It totally goes in a new direction comparatively to other Pixar films, and I really want to see Pixar continue doing original stories like this. I don't want any more sequels unless it's a sequel to Monsters Inc. where Mike and Sully end up in the real world and encounter a grown-up Boo, and she has to guide them back to the monsters world. A man can dream. That's what the sequel to Monsters Inc. should be. I do think it is a massive shame that not many people are going to see this movie because it is really good. It's probably one of the most unique things that Pixar has done in the last few years. It's really good, and I'd definitely watch it again. I enjoyed its take on, the buddy up road trip movie and the way it integrates this magical world into it, and Barty is teaching Ian how to use magic and all these different spells that he can use, which is really, really fun. I think that anyone could really enjoy this movie. There's lots of visual gags. It'd probably be worth watching this movie twice because I think there was a lot of visual jokes and things you might miss watching the first time that you could pick up the second time. So overall, I think that this was a really, really good movie. Hoping that Pixar continues with really original concepts like this in the future, taking risks as opposed to just sort of making sequels to old films that they know are going to make a lot of money. I understand the commercial interest in that, but I prefer the creativity. But I also understand that the world doesn't quite work like that. What did you think of Onward? I'd be interested to know if you've seen it. Do you want to see it? Were you going to see it, but now you can't see it because it's been taken out of cinemas? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I also do a podcast, 20th Century Boy. I talk about lots of things, including games, TV shows, movies, anime, music, my life in general, and I have a band which is a comedy punk band called Release the Sounds. Our first album is on Spotify now, and I'd love for you to give it a listen. You might really like it. So thanks a lot for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and please subscribe to my channel. That would mean a lot. Trying to build a subscriber base and do more videos like this. My name's been Radio Mike. This has been The Inside of My Mind. Catch you later.